It was an absolute perfect day. I sat on this pristine beach in the BVI, and I looked to my left at these huge trees where the light wind was rustling through. We were ending the chartering season, and we had a small break of 2 days, and we've been going strong, and we had 3 charters in a row with 24-hour turns. So I was quite knackered. I slowly looked to my right, and White Bay was lying there pristine as ever. Our 45-foot catamaran, I had her on anchor, and I had her stern pulled into the beach, and I took a line with an anchor out and embedded that in the beach sand, so she was in quite solid. We were looking forward to having a very quiet evening on board. So, you know, this was it. This was me sitting in paradise, having a cold one. It was a different cold one than that. Then I was rudely awakened out of that daydream, because I saw him coming out of the periphery of my right eye. When I started focusing like that, I told Andy, I said, "Well, Andy, here's another customer coming your way." He said, "Yeah, man, it's been quiet, man." And the two of us saw him come. And I told Andy, well, he's probably coming from, looking at the direction and his angle, coming from the United States Virgin Islands. And then I started trying to work out what it was. Was it a Beneteau? Was it a Jeanneau? It was anything between 38 foot and probably up to 46. And then at closer inspection, I thought, okay, it looks like a fast 42. Interesting. I haven't seen those ones in a while. So he came in. He just barely missed the fairway marker. But fortunately, we don't have a lot of high and low tides in the Caribbean. So he came into White Bay, and I just saw him leave the helm and run up front and manually throw the anchor. And I thought to myself, what on earth is this guy doing? And I thought to myself, well, I wonder if that chain is marked, because if he doesn't know how many feet, he's in about 4 meters of water. So, you know, the old rule of 5 to 1, that's like 20. And I thought to myself, well, I have no idea how much that is. And then I also thought to myself, but all of that is straight down. The anchor just went blonk, and all this chain on a castle form on top of this anchor. So as soon as there's going to be any movement, it's going to twist around the anchor, dislodge the anchor, and this guy is going to drag all over the place. I thought to myself, okay, here we go again. If that happens, he's not far off from where we are. It's going to be one of those interesting nights again, getting me running around 3 o'clock in the morning, trying to sort out other people's boats. Well, so it goes. And I looked again, and the guy hasn't been there for 3 minutes all in all. He just threw out this anchor, jumped into the dinghy, and here he was. He was walking up towards us and going, "Hi, how are y'all?" I thought to myself, well, here we go, a happy Texan or Arkansas or thereabouts. How bad can it be? Maybe I can talk to him about his inability to anchor and put it in a nice way and try and help the guy. He seems to be quite friendly. So he came along and took the seat next to me, and proceeded to tell Andy, hey man, can I have a cold one? So, Andy assisted him, and when he had his beer in hand, he looked at me and he said, man, you won't believe how great the two of us are. We took that boat all the way from Annapolis, all the way down the Gulf Stream, and we sailed all the way here. I thought to myself, yeah, myself and my wife did 2 of those deliveries. That's about 700 miles, give or take. I didn't say a word. So he continues. He says, yeah, but another guy told us we must get over the Gulf Stream as quickly as we can, because, that's going to be a mess if we don't. And we thought to ourselves, man, what the hell does he know? We'll just hug the coast, and if anything goes wrong, there'll be a place that we can go into and find safe harborage. And I thought to myself, when we went up that Gulf Stream, when we delivered the boat, Cape Hatteras is pretty nasty. So the guy continued, he said, oh, we are so great, because when we got to Hatteras, nothing could keep us off, because we knew exactly what we were doing. But then all of a sudden the compass started spinning, and we had no idea where we were. And it was a bit of a panic, but we handled everything well. And this huge wave came in, and it went downstairs, and everything was wet. And the wind changed slightly, and I caught a whiff on the wind. And I thought to myself, yeah, I can smell that you've been salty for a couple of days. And then he said, but you know what, through all of that, I think we have a new record. I took another zip. He said, man, we made that trip in 10 days. It took everything in my being to not laugh in his face. I just held my pose. And I thought to myself, that's a fast 42. If you only do 100 miles a day, that's 7 days, if my math is correct. And it took myself and my wife normally 5. We'll plan on 5 days to do a trip like that. Depends on the boat and the conditions and all of those variables, fair enough. But, you plan accordingly. 10 days, that was a bit much. It might have been a record for maybe the fastest, not the fastest, but the slowest. And then he continued and he said, it's quite amazing, the sailing thing. It is so easy. We only broke a couple of things. He said, it's only one stanchion that's gone. He said, and I think there's something on a mast that's just loose and it's whacking around up there. We'll go and have a look later. And I had a quick look, and it was the wind vane that was like all over the show. I thought to myself, well, there we go, stanchion plus that. That's another 5,000 US. And then he said, yeah, but we're amazing delivery skippers. I'm just going to do this forever. And then I thought, oh man, no, not that. This poor owner. And yes, it always amazes me. Why is it always the poor owner that will always suffer? Now, this guy wasn't deterred at all. He just went on. He said, well, we're now looking forward to going from here, and we're going to deliver this boat to England. And I thought to myself, oh my. If that poor boat looks like this from 700 miles, imagine how that poor boat will look if it does ever get to England, which I'm starting to seriously doubt, just looking at the way that this guy operates. And I've got no idea when he said we, who else is on the boat. And the guys in the know and the cruising people will know. Just to get there, it's probably easiest to go to from the BVI, go to Marquesas, and from Marquesas go up to Nova Scotia, thereabouts, and then start swinging, you know. It's like, it's not an easy trip at all. It's really not something that I will easily tackle, and we've done a bit. So I didn't laugh, I kept my pose, and he looked at Andy and he said, yeah, it's amazing, man. You know, this sailing stuff is so easy. It's really easy to just keep going, and we'll just be delivery skippers forever. We are great, he said. And then he looked at me, and it's, you know, that look as if though, what the hell, I never knew you were here, kind of thing. And he looked me up and down, and he frowned, and he said, you don't look local, are you international? And I wanted to answer, and he said, South African man, he's from South Africa. And the guy said, oh, okay, so I wonder, how was the flight? I mean, you guys are obviously here on holiday. It must be quite a long flight. And and he said, no man, no flight. And this oak, you should have seen his face. I mean, the gaze went round and round, and then all of a sudden, his eyes just grew wide open, and his jaw dropped, and he looked at me and he said, oh my God, you sailed here. And I nearly told him, no man, I just walked here. But that was the end of my tether. I told Andy, I said, Andy, thanks ever so much. It's been a pleasure, like always. I'll see you again in a couple of days. And I left. Now, let's look at the psychological analysis of what happened here. I want to start off by being clear that this guy was in his own way. I mean, don't ever get in your own way like this. This man's ego was all over the show. This man was so arrogant, it was just unbelievable. And this man was really delusional. I mean, just the kind of things that he was saying, and what's the worst is he believed every word of that. Now, not only did he get in his own way, he spoke about 2,000 words. I spoke none. This was not a conversation. This was a monologue. A conversation means more than one. So please don't be that guy, ever. The other sad thing is that this man, although he may have skills of probing, meaning that he can ask decent questions so that he can get a wealth of information, even if he has that skill, which I doubt, and even if he's got the skill of empathy, which again will show others that you really care, and that will make them open up and give you even more information, even if he has that skill. This man was incapable of using any, because he was continuously in his own way. The most saddest thing out of the conversation is that he never realized until it was much, much, much too late. He never realized who he was sitting next to. And I'm not saying that I'm great or anything, but what I am saying, and as I said in my own mind, and I was arrogant in my own mind, I'm so much better than this idiot. I mean, this guy doesn't know a thing about sailing. He's got such a lot to learn, And here's a person sitting next to him that may even save his life if he just wants to shut up and listen. Now, listening is the quiet portion of empathy. Sometimes in this life, you just have to shut up and listen. If he did that, I would have spoken nicely to him. I would have used my empathy to talk nicely to him about his incompetence in anchoring. I would have actually said, let's then go and have a look at what's wrong at the top of your mast. Let me come aboard. Let's see if we can't save some of those batteries. I mean, you know, deep cycle batteries don't like salt water. And I'm pretty sure that it's not just the stanchion and the wind vane. There must be such a lot of other stuff that went wrong. But he had the opportunity. He had a perfect window of opportunity in his life when he sat across from me to tap into my vast knowledge. And even the slightest bit of my knowledge would have assisted him. Now, please bear in mind that you must, if you do want to make any assumptions in this life, and again I'll ask you not to assume, rather ask first and get the right information. Now, if he really wanted to assume, the correct assumption would have been that, do you know what? I'm just going to assume that this guy next to me is the greatest sailor ever. If I talk to somebody and I start talking about a specific specialist field, then I will immediately, if I do assume, then I will make the assumption that this person is an expert. And I will, from that angle and from that point of view, I will have my conversation with that person. The amount of knowledge that you can gain from other people is really profound. So don't be that guy, don't be that gal. I'll see you in the next one. Go well.